Europe clowns on America for our media being uniquely captured. That's the thing. It's not uniquely captured. I also, you know what? There's one thing that I would like to end it with, or maybe not end it with, but we are drawing towards the 2 hour mark. I saw something that I think some of the Europeans that watch me, certainly not Kayla, because I've belabored this point with the regular chatters. I think some people who are European could stand to see this. This is going to be French, so bear with me. I'm going to be reading in French, but I'll translate to English as well as I can. This was an article that I saw in the French news journal that I, again, saw fit to maybe go over on stream. Okay. And by the way, when you see these symbols, these are quotation marks. For whatever reason, in French, even though they use the same alphabet, they use different symbols for quotation marks, where in English we use the in the top. LFI, c'est un parti anti-France. Aurore Berger reprend une expression pétainiste pour attaquer la gauche. Okay. The LFI is an anti-France party, quoted from Aurore Berger, using a pétainiste expression to attack the left. Pétainiste is the French special version of fascism. I hear surrender language. They are called, well, no, you don't, because the French are hearing this. And they're saying, that's Vichy talk, you fucker. That's pétainisme. Pétainisme is the sort of French bend of fascism, the sort of collaborationist sentiment that some of the French leadership elected to employ in working with the Nazis. This is explicitly anti-surrender. Alors, Aurore Berger, ministre déléguée à l'égalité femmes-hommes, a qualifié LFI de parti anti-France, un terme utilisé par l'extrême droite antisémite au 19e et 20e siècle. Ok. Traduction, translation, Aurore Berger, the delegated minister for the equality of women and men. France is like a ludicrously feminist country, by the way, which is hilarious. They have a fucking minister of gender equality, which is it's peak, Mr. Joestar. Has qualified LFI, La France Insoumise, France undefeated, France unbowed, as an anti-France party, a term utilized by the far right, the anti-Semites of the 19th and 20th century. Spain does too. Irene Montero. Oh, that's based. We love a good 21st century socialist. She's our Minister of Equality. Nice, nice. Après une semaine d'appel du pied de plusieurs macronistes à l'extrême droite, en reprenant des expressions vichistes, elle a appelé la gauche à rompre de manière définitive avec LFI au risque de perdre des vies aux élections municipales. Le RN a retiré ses candidats pour empêcher la victoire d'un candidat soutenu par la France insoumise. Alors, socialist and liberal. No, I was referring to the fact that an office like that is very much entrenched in sort of foundational ideas to 21st century socialism. This woman is a fascist that the article is talking about here. Aurore Berger, she is a fascist. She is, as they say, a pétainiste, a fascist collaborationist. The office itself bears a sort of socialist, 21st century socialist spirit, which is like a little, a little bit better than those liberal social democrats you hear about sometimes. Anyways, that was a long-ass sentence that I read in this article. I'm going to translate it now. After a week of nudges, appel du pied means to nudge somebody. Like, you're sitting at the dinner table and you sort of tap them with your foot, like, hey. Of various... plusieurs means various, right? Yeah, several. Macroniste, these are the centrist liberals. To the far right, in their taking of expressions, of Vichyist expressions, she has called on the left to break in a definitive manner with LFI at the risk of losing cities in the municipal elections. And the RN, the far right party, has and the RN to retire their candidates, not has to retire their candidates to impede the victory of a candidate supported by LFI. So basically, they're trying to sabotage the left's electoral chances. The far right and the liberals are forming a bloc to sabotage the electoral chances of the left by saying, oh, they're an anti-France party. Which is, of course, pétainisme in the big 2026. Fascist and Nazi collaborationism in the big 2026. That's her. That's Aurore Berger. Her forehead is cut off. It should have been her whole head, but, that's another matter. This is the most French thing ever. It gets even more French in parentheses based. And this isn't super long. It's just this. It gets to something that I want to hammer home for the Europeans in the audience. That wasn't even the part that I wanted to get to. That was just the intro bit for the article. Énième outrance, après une semaine noire pour la République. The nth, what was this, outrage or instance? I forget which, excess. Okay, halfway between the two. I remembered sort of correctly. The nth excess after a very black week for the Republic. Also super fucking cool that they sometimes refer to France as La République, the Republic. Very Star Wars pilled. Thank you. French is really just mixing English, German, and Latin. Yes, that's exactly what French is. Après la mort de Quentin de Ranc, militant d'extrême droite à Lyon, les anathèmes du RN et des macronistes ont fleuri contre la gauche et l'antifascisme. Okay. After the death of Quentin de Ranc, a far-right militant in Lyon, the anathemas. Okay, the anathemas. Anathema? I don't know if this is exactly the right word, but the RN and the Macronists have flowered against the left and against anti-fascism. So there's a new anti-fascist bloc emerging, it seems. I wonder what we call the people who are against anti-fascism. I wonder what you would call that. The people who are against being against fascism. The way you Frenchify okay into okay is so French. That's because okay is a word in French that was adopted from English. Les lettres O et K, ça veut dire l'acronyme OK en anglais. Alors, OK in English just translates to okay in French. Or you could also say d'accord, which is like all in agreement. All right. Me? Call them me? What? There's probably a better comparison than German, given it was a Frankish dialect language, influenced Proto-French. I think there's a phenomenon where a word is the exact same between languages. Yes, in English it's called true cognates. In French it's called vrais amis. True friends. Where the same word will mean the same thing and is spelled more or less the same as well, for the same reason. Like charge. Charge. Spelled the same in French and English, pronounced pretty similarly too, to the extent you can have similar pronunciation across languages, and means more or less the same thing. Okay, so where were we? Yes, the liberals and the fascists are forming an anti-fascist bloc. Barbarorum Skeleratorum. I feel like that's Latin, but I can't read Latin, so I'm sorry. I'm unfortunately illiterate, therefore immune to the joke of the post. Pas en reste. Le ministre délégué à l'égalité, excuse-moi, femmes-hommes, Aurore Berger, a déclaré dimanche 22 février au micro d'Europe 1, CNews, Les Échos, que LFI, c'est de l'antisémitisme. LFI, c'est un parti anti-France. Et LFI, c'est un parti qui appelle et revendique ou assume une part de violence. Oh, I see. I do not speak French. That language is the language of barbarians and criminals. Ah, I see. Very sexy barbarians and criminals. I would add. That is my sole issue with that statement. But that's true. So, that sentence that I just read, pas en reste, not to, what is this? Yeah, I was gonna say not to stay down, I think, but it's like not to be outdone. It's like as if that wasn't enough. So she said, like, but I'm not done yet. She hit the Billy Mays on him. Aurore Berger declared on the 22nd of February, just yesterday, on air. I think au micro means like on air. At the microphone. Okay, au micro. Microphone. Said by Julius Caesar, by the way. He might have been cooking. Maybe. Aurore Berger declared at the microphone on February 22nd, which is yesterday as I'm recording this, on Europe 1, CNews, and Les Echos, which are pretty significant news outlets in France, that LFI is anti-Semitic, LFI is an anti-France party, and LFI is a party that calls for and claims or assumes a part to violence. Basically, they are pro-violence, they're anti-Semitic, in parentheses, don't like Israel. Understand when far-right parties call their opponents anti-Semitic, they also just mean they don't like Israel. And they are anti-France. Le tout sans être reprise par les journalistes en plateau, pourtant chargés de garantir la véracité des assertions prononcées par les responsables politiques. All of this huffing and puffing without reprisal from the journalists on the platform. However, they are charged with guaranteeing the veracity of assertions pronounced by political officials. So these journalists, as this outlet is saying, these journalists are completely derelict of duty because they just let her talk. Be like, oh yeah, LFI is anti-Semitic. They hate France. They are a violent political party. And the journalists were just like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Le terme anti-France a apparu lors de l'affaire Dreyfus dans le milieu antisémite et généralisé sous Vichy pour qualifier LFI survit quelques jours après que la candidate macroniste à la mairie de Marseille, Martine Vassal, a repris la devise pétainiste lors d'un débat. So the term anti-France to describe political actors of some sort has appeared since the Dreyfus affair in anti-Semitic milieu, in anti-Semitic context, and was generalized and generally under Vichy to here to qualify. Wait, I think I'm misreading the sentence structure again. Anti-France apparu lors de l'affaire Dreyfus. Okay, the term anti-France, which appeared since the Dreyfus affair in anti-Semitic context and generalized under Vichy to qualify LFI, survit quelques jours après. I have no fucking idea what this sentence structure is. I understood this in French decently well, but I'm really having trouble translating it to English. Let me go through it one more time and I'll just like loosely paraphrase it. Serait quelques jours après que la candidat macroniste a Marseille, entreprises, la devise étaniste lors d'un débat. Okay, this instance, let me just go indirectly, sort of. This instance of the use of the term anti-France, which has its origins in the Dreyfus Affair, in anti-Semitic context, was used during Vichy, and was used here to qualify LFI, comes a few days after the Macronist candidate, the center-lib candidate for the mayorship of Marseille, their name being Martine Vassal, used this Pétainiste rhetorical device in a debate. So basically, a centrist liberal used the Pétainiste invocation of "you are anti-France" against their left-leaning political opponent in a debate. And a few days following this, this minister, the Minister of Equality for France, said on air that LFI is an anti-France party because they don't like Israel. And the journalists on air just did not respond at all. They just did not check her on that remotely. Look, DMs, you're going to like it. I'll check that in a minute. So here we have, this is the bulk of the situation that I want to address here. A lot of Europeans, again, it seems like I'm having to say this over and over again, but I guess part of the job of a live streamer is to repeat themselves. A lot of Europeans will orifarm on how much better they have it than America. And to that I say, you may indeed have it better than us, but our present is your future. One of the defining hallmarks of American political decline is the absolute capture of our journalist class and news media outlets by the far right and by the interests of capital. Witness the same thing happening to you now, where far-right politicians can go and invoke anti-Semitic tropes to call the left anti-Semitic, where they can criticize the left for being pro-violence, not subservient enough to Israel. I mean, they hate Jews. And just a ton of claims like that, and the news won't push back on them even slightly because the news is captured by the same set of interests that is directing the far-right parties to say this. Your news is being captured too. In fact, to a large extent, it already is. So don't get too comfortable on this sort of political high horse. You do not have it as much better than America as you think you do. You are not far behind us, and that should concern you greatly. Because here, look, these are not no-name news outlets in France. Les Échos, CNews, Europe 1. They might not be premier news outlets, but a far-right candidate, a far-right government official could just go onto the news, use Nazi talking points. This is Pétain. Pétain was the French general that elected to collaborate with the Nazis in administering occupied Vichy France, right? Vichyist Nazi talking points. And the news media is just like, nothing. They did not push back at all. Pas de reprise par les journalistes. Pas du tout. We're about 10 years behind the US, so all of our Trumps are coming soon right around this point. Yeah, if you want to think of it that way, you are going to have similar political figures coming to prominence as Donald Trump in the United States. But the reason for that is that fundamentally the same set of interests, the interests of capital, the military-industrial complex, are equally interested in raping your countries to death too. And it is already starting. They have captured all of the news media outlets. They are capturing your government officials. I mean, they long since have with, the liberals and fascists being such a large contingent in the government. You are not immune to all of the things that America is suffering. You make fun of America for not having healthcare. You are not immune to this. You make fun of America for being stupider. You are not immune to this. You make fun of America for not having public transit. You are not immune to this. You may have it better right now, but beware of the storm that is literally about to hit you. You know, I remember a couple years ago, one of the early things in Macron's second term that he caught massive flack for was privatizing the public transit service in France. Everything you hold over America for being better than us, yes, you are. But you don't get to just have that. You have to fight for that. They're going to take that away from you too. A lot of the things that you have now are things that America used to have. Universal healthcare, you're not going to believe this. America used to have that. America used to have public hospitals where you could get care for very, very cheap. There are no public hospitals in America anymore. A public hospital isn't a thing that exists in America anymore. They used to exist. They don't anymore. America used to have public transit. We had trams, we had buses, we had trains. We tore all of that down. We used to have those things. We used to have some of the things that Europe has. We used to be the egalitarian social democratic paragon that Europe looked up to. If you read Piketty, you know this. In the 20th century, America was the envy of Europe. We don't have that anymore. And now you have things that you claim to be the envy the envy of America for. But you're going to lose those things too, because you have the same fundamental relationship between your economy and capital that we do in America. Capital is international. They are not going to spare Europe. Also, I do find it quite laughable that they were like, the left needs to break with LFI, otherwise you're gonna lose the cities because like the cities vote for the left, dipshit. As if anti-Semitism allegations have credibility coming from the far right. Let's, be so for real. But the point isn't to warn the left about this because they're political opponents. They want the left to lose. The point is to drive a wedge into the left. The point is for them to say, I don't know, the left should break, to try to break the left and to sow that defeat. They're wish casting, essentially. This is wish casting, not in the sense that it's necessarily unrealistic, but in the sense that they want it to happen, so they're forecasting it. All right, last short paragraph here. Est-ce que la gauche est prête de manière définitive à rompre avec la France insoumise? Is the left prepared in a definitive manner to break with la France insoumise, LFI? Aurore Berger a fait feu de tout bois contre la gauche à quelques jours des élections municipales. Est-ce que la gauche est prête de manière définitive à rompre avec la France insoumise à risque peut-être de perdre un certain nombre de vies? Excuse me. Aurore Berger has directed all fire towards the left. A few days out from the municipal elections, is the left ready in a definitive manner to break from LFI at the risk, perhaps, of losing a certain number of cities? J'entends ces derniers jours des voix qui disent l'inverse, a déclaré la ministre. So according to her, she said she's heard voices that say the inverse, where I'm assuming what she's saying is I've heard some voices that say that the left is going to stay together, where she wants it to break apart. Wonder how much of a stroke French World War II veterans would have far-right parties accusing people of anti-Semitism. A lot of French World War II veterans were also themselves anti-Semitic. That's not why they went to war with Germany. But yes, I do think like if there were a lot of, particularly in America, World War II veterans listening to this, you would probably have a stroke. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's many of those people left. World War II was 80 years ago. Those people would have to be 90 something at the very least nowadays. You would have to have been in your teens, in your late teens at least, to be a soldier during World War II. Avant de tendre la main au Rassemblement national et Jordan Bardella, veteran would be 100, close to it, yeah. Avant de tendre la main au Rassemblement national et Jordan Bardella qui parlait de cordon sanitaire avec Alefi, qui le montre aussi au moment des élections municipales, a poursuivi la ministre. Yeah, if they were around 16 to 20, they'd be close to 100 now. Or even a little older than 100. Yeah. Before tendering their hand? I think playing their hand, right? Extending a hand, right, okay. Before extending a hand to the RN and Jordan Bardella, who has spoken of a sanitary cordon, basically like they're stinky, with LFI. Il montre aussi au moment des élections municipales. Are they saying he's also displaying the same sentiment for the municipal elections? Let me see this. Let me double check this. I need to practice my French more. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. So I understand what this is saying now. God damn it. Why is French Charlie Kirk on the corner? Oh, this guy? I don't think he looks that much like Charlie Kirk, unless you know something about French politics that I don't. Okay, so the RN is sort of, he just looks like him. Okay, yeah, a little bit. The RN is extending a hand to other elements of the right. Somebody's extending a hand to somebody on the right, or like in the center, who's talked about a sanitary cordon of LFI, basically breaking the French political parties off from LFI because they recognize that LFI has actually been pretty effective in trying to build a political coalition. They're asking, like, would you be willing, effectively, like you've talked before about breaking apart LFI's coalition, would you be willing to do the same thing now leading up to municipal elections? This coming from the minister, I suppose, from the equality minister, Aurore Berger. Pourquoi maintiendrait-il des candidats dans des vies où ils savent que le RN n'a aucune chance de gagner, excuse-moi, et où LFI peut gagner? So basically, why is he still running candidates in cities where he knows that RN doesn't have a chance to win, and where LFI has a very real chance to win? Basically, yeah, okay. Extending a hand to the more neoconservative and liberal centrist elements to say, look, you should strategically drop your candidates out of municipal races where they don't have a chance to win, so we can form a unified right-wing bloc against the left, where they have a very real chance to win. Yeah, shaking liberal, your collaborations with fascists will not work. Well, I think that again, that assumes that the liberals are interested in not letting fascists ruin the world, or like are interested in doing good things, where the liberals could give a fuck whether the fascists get what they want here. And it's not for the same reason as in the 20th century. in the 20th century, right, with classical fascism, a lot of the liberals were actually that stupid. In the 21st century, liberals and fascists are much closer together ideologically. There's a lot less separation. A lot of liberals are incredibly right-wing and share more or less the same objectives as fascists. And most modern fascists are just neoliberals, just more racist. Yeah. To them, it's not a mistake, even if bad things happen. The sort of we didn't realize this would happen is the classic one day everyone will have always been against this. They have to aura farm about being so shocked and horrified at the terror that fascists wreak upon society because they don't want that smoke. But fundamentally, they were perfectly fine with it when it was happening. This is basically what the CETA was in Spain, the right-wing coalition. That makes sense. Yeah, it's kayfabe. They pretend to have emotions so that people are swayed one way or the other, such as politics. Sorry, again, that was me reading French very badly. Franco times, yeah. That was me reading French very badly because I don't practice as much as I probably should. On this article that I found it interesting enough to talk about. This is very recent. There's some recency bias here insofar as like what I like to talk about. But I think this is particularly relevant because, like I said earlier, Europe clowns on America for our media being uniquely captured. That's the thing. It's not uniquely captured. It's more captured than media elsewhere. It's not unique in that respect. Your media is being captured in the same way. This directed to the Europeans out there, especially those who would make fun of America. Remember this. You're not all that better. You're not all that much better than us. You are succumbing to the same systemic pressures, and your institutions are also bending the knee to capital. You know? French Metropolitan, French Quebecois, French Y2K dialect. I do mix and match a little bit. Some things, there's some French that is very influenced by like French Canadian because I have Minecraft set to French Canadian. Some of the words there just make a lot more sense. And I don't say 90 or 80 for or 70 for 90, 80, and 70. I say 70, 80, 90 because that makes fucking sense. Anyways, this was just like, we don't need to do the whole Y2K dialect thing. This was just me speaking really broken metropolitan French. That would be the best bomb squad. Average Basque when they see a prime minister in a moving vehicle. Many such cases. But yeah, something cautionary tale to the Europeans. I'm sure there are plenty of European far righters that are perfectly fine with this, in which case, great, you get to live in a 1984 hellhole, same as the United States, for the purpose of like, at least we rounded up all those migrants or some shit. I don't know if the European right is as mentally ill as the American right, but I can assume that there's some degree of parity there. And for the European lefties, many of whom have a liberal bend to them, because their life is very comfortable and they have the luxury of not engaging in systemic analysis because shit is not quite as fucked over there. Yes, to real Cryoptor's point, you are getting there. Our present is your future. You are watching it unfold right now, where fascist members of government are going on the news and doing fascist propaganda, literal Nazi era fascist talking points, but then he's talking points about the left, how they are anti-Semitic and they want violence in this country. Source, I made it the fuck up. And by that, they really mean that the left is not subservient enough to Israel, Israel being an analog for just military industrial complex capital. And your news outlets are taking that in and allowing it to be aired completely uncritically. A few years ago, there was a segment I did with a local news outlet in America where there was an assassination attempt against an American politician. And the would-be assassin, the attempted assassin, actually called into a news outlet and they were like, oh my God, the assassin's calling in. And they took the call and they let him speak uninterrupted for like 3 minutes. Like he went full tilt saying like, I don't fucking regret it. I'd do it again. And they were just like, wow. No condemnation whatsoever. No moral sentiment levied. Not even a fact check to anything that he said that was part of a grand conspiratorial narrative. Your news media, Europe, your media is on that same track to a certain extent. They're already there. Yeah, their ideology is just, I'm going to get my paycheck and engage in the revolving door of politics between the news media and lobbying and the news media and some consulting job with the military industrial complex and whatever the fuck, right? You've been warned. You don't hate these people enough. Yeah, the news in America let a literal fucking crazed assassin aura farm, and the news in France is starting on that track as well. This was just about France, so I haven't seen news outlets talk about this in other countries, but I'm sure there are plenty of instances of this. This is not an isolated incident, just by the nature of what is happening here. You don't hate these people enough. You need to be aware that they are going to come for your countries too, and they already are. Cut the segment. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, even donate to support the channel. It would really mean a lot to me.